as a student body president with my board to increase the Florida tuition voucher. The Florida tuition voucher, when a student enters college as an in-state student, you get certain funds because you're in-state students that go to school. At the time, it was only $500. So I got a group of students together and took them to Tallahassee to meet with T.K. Weatherington, who was the Speaker of the House at the time. Unbeknownst to me, my efforts, they passed $1,500 budget for each student. In my transition back home, I didn't realize that it affected every single private school in the state of Florida. You know, I got two of the children, two daughters, so I never shunned my responsibility. But when that Zoom call ended, I closed my laptop and I was like, I got this deranged feeling. You ever seen the Joker and Batman, the movie? How that look when he's really going? That's how I felt. Like, okay, I'm either gonna go left or go right. I was mad, right? I said, you know what? Because of what I've been doing, lobbying the legislature in college, doing consulting for elected officials throughout the county, throughout the nation, actually. I said, I know elected officials would change the law. I'm gonna fix this.
WH Jennings turned personal pain into public policy after losing access to his 7-year-old son. The North Miami Senior High alumnus authored Florida's groundbreaking Good Dad Act, giving fathers equal parental rights for the first time. Here's how one man's fight for his child became a legacy changing lives across the nation.
A lot of women or mothers, they hold that child as leverage to get control over the father.
Yeah, it's all about control.
And
some dads do it too. I'm living
100%. It's both ways.
We have women come on the program, some mothers come on my thing, and some grandmothers. Because when you take the kid away from the dad, the whole side of the family, the aunties, the uncles, the grandparents, they don't get to see their in-law.
Right.
They miss out on that. The kid misses out on that whole legacy.
Welcome back to Jewel's Legacy Enterprise Productions, where story connects generations. A conversation with a pioneer. A segment that celebrates the life and journey of North Miami Senior High School pioneers by bridging the past and the present to inspire the future. Behind every name, there is a story. WH Jennings. He is the man behind the Good Dad Act, which was passed in law July 1st of 2020. Which was passed into law July 1st, 2023. He's an alumni from class of 87. It is with great pleasure to actually bring him here in the studio because we have a lot to unpack today. Mr. Jennings.
Yes, Jules.
Thank you so much for stopping by today.
I'm happy to be here, happy to share.
You are a man of very accomplished individual. Because I was reading a lot of your work, some of the work that you've done, and you were an alumni from class of 87, right?
Yes.
Walk us through the journey after high school.
Whew. I learned early on that service is the price you pay for the space you occupy.
Right.
From the late Arthur Teal, who was the former chairman of the Board of County Commissioners, and my fraternity brother Kappa outside fraternity. So I've always been involved ever since high school. What started me off in high school, a funny story in the beginning. I wanted to run for SGA president in high school.
Okay.
And my GPA was too low. It was a 2.5, and it had to be, I think it was a 3.0.
Okay.
So Scott Galvin became president SGA.
D. Scott Galvin?
D. Scott Galvin. And then I was still involved. One of the mayors there, Marco B. Lafredo Jr., was the mayor of North Miami. Okay. And he came to school looking for some folks to be a part of repairing the frog pond and raising some money for the senior center in North Miami. The frog pond that was in the old school in the front had 4 frogs. And the 4th frog got vandalized by the students at North Miami Beach, the Chargers. Okay. So there's a rival between the two schools. So our mission was to raise enough money to repair the frog pond and put I Do Hopwell back. That's the name of the frog. Okay. And the mayor picked me to be chairman of the committee, and the activities director was Ed Reisinger at the time. Okay. So he took a liking to me in my effort to want to be SGA president. I couldn't even run because my GPA was too low, and that was my end of my junior year. So that kind of made me open my eyes about my focus on what I need to do. I need to get the work done. I don't have to get all A's, right? But I got to get it done. Of course. And as long as you get it done, you can get where you want to go. Of course. Because if you do it right, everything will follow. Yes. So that's where I started in my community service. We repaired the frog pond, raised a lot of money for the senior citizen center in North Miami. That same year, I became an explorer for the North Miami Police Department. Wow. I rose to be second in command of the post before entering college. I was involved as an intern to the mayor's economic task force in the city of North Miami. I served as an intern under 4 or 5 mayors. Mayor Howard New, God bless him, he's passed away. Myrna Pavlik, who's an icon in North Miami, was my mentor at the time.
Okay.
We did a lot of things to revamp what was going on at North Miami Senior High School. It was a very bad situation there. The principal was Leonard Glazer. We got him removed from the school and brought in a new principal to bring the school up. Later on, the school got torn down and we built a new school. Went from there, went on to college. I was a student at Florida Memorial University where I got track scholarship to go to school. I transitioned from running track and being in the band to being a dorm counselor.
Okay.
And then class president. Then I became student body president of the university.
Florida Memorial.
At Florida Memorial University,
Okay.
the only historical black college university in South Florida.
Yes, that's true.
I did a lot there. Did a lot of work in the school. I brought phones into dormitories, cable television on campus, a campus television station. I had the street named 200-something blocks named after the university. Initiated the state plates for the university, and I lobbied the state legislature as a student body president with my board to increase the Florida tuition voucher. The Florida tuition voucher, when a student enters college as an in-state student, you get certain funds because you're in-state students to go to school. At the time, it was only $500. And I had a lot of complaints from students, fellow students said, hey, it was hard to be able to pay our bill. We got to do something. So I got a group of students together and took them to Tallahassee to meet with T.K. Weatherington, who was the Speaker of the House at the time, to increase the amount of money our students at Florida Memorial would receive. Unbeknownst to me, my efforts, they passed it that time in the session. They passed $1,500 budget for each student. Mm-hmm. I was like, great, great, great. In my transition back home, I didn't realize that it affected every single private school in the state of Florida, not Florida Memorial, the majority school, as well as other private schools in the state like Bethune-Cookman College, Edward Waters out of Jacksonville, and it had touched private college students in the entire state. I was ranked the best student body president in the state of Florida at the time by Oxendine Magazine, which is a publication that reviews achievements in higher education. And from there, I've just been very busy outside the university as a member of the fraternity. Founded the Biscayne Gardens Chamber of Commerce.
You founded the Biscayne Gardens Chamber of Commerce?
Mm-hmm. It's still going on now. I'm the chairman of the board now. I was president for some time. I just stepped down recently. And Eric Stoller is the new president. We do events all over the county. We do hygiene for homeless events where we gather hygiene products from different companies and individuals. And we go out to the community, Broward, Dade County, and we give these hygiene packs that have maybe lotion, soap, towels, toothpaste, toothbrush, shavers, condoms, maxi pads for the women, and we do like maybe 2,000 giveaways a year, every quarter.
Right.
Matter of fact, I actually keep a box in my car. When I see a homeless person on the street, I get out the car
and you give
them something. It's very rewarding to do that. You realize that what little we may have, it's so much more to somebody else. And, everybody has something to give. I do a lot of stuff, and I'm not by myself doing. I do other things with other people to help the community and things of that sort.
Biscayne Garden, where is it located at?
So Biscayne Gardens is in a 5-mile radius in and around the Golden Glades interchange. It's in between the city of North Miami, the city of North Miami Beach, and the city of Miami Gardens. If you look at the Golden Glades interchange, if you blink at 135th Street, going down 7th Avenue or 95, you've missed Biscayne Gardens. That's the center of it.
Of course.
So it's the east and west side of 95 up to Northwest 17th Avenue on the west side. On the east side, it kind of meanders around to West Dixie Highway, up to Northeast 9th Avenue. If you look at the shape, it looks like the top of an old key, the shape of it. There's 5,000 homes in Biscayne Gardens, 34,000 residents. It's got maybe a $2.8 to $3 billion budget effect on Miami-Dade County. It's an unincorporated area.
That's what I'm curious to know, because if you guys have a Chamber of Commerce there, I was under the impression that it would be detached from unincorporated Miami-Dade. Because it's usually municipal that actually, from my understanding, they actually have their own Chamber of Commerce. Most
cities have a chamber and they're funded by the local municipality. We formed the chamber some years ago because we had to move to incorporate Biscayne Gardens to make it the 35th city of the county. We went before the county commission and they approved the election day for us to do it, and we tried to educate the community, and there was a faction of the community that didn't want it to happen, so it failed. So we didn't become a city. And since that time, a lot of things have happened in the community that people don't agree with, that if they would have became a city, it would have been a different story. For example, along the access road of I-95 between 151st Street and Golden Glades, you see these apartments that have come up.
Correct.
There's a mega church over there.
Yes.
A lot of people in that neighborhood, they're gridlocked. And these homes aren't even fully occupied. These apartment buildings aren't even fully occupied. Even down Northwest 2nd Avenue from 163rd Street all the way down to 135th Street, there's some apartment buildings over there, some new ones they just built. Next to the city dump, there's 2 apartment buildings.
Yes.
Once those get occupied, it's already, if you leave at 4 o'clock to try to go 2nd Avenue to 163rd Street, you're 2 hours, 3 hours in traffic.
Correct.
If we would have incorporated, we could have maybe not stopped the development, but let it be progressively done over a number of years rather than all of it happening right away.
Right.
The county operates in a blanket. There's nine enclaves in the county, 9 areas that are unincorporated. And when they make rules, they make the rules based upon the entire county, not based upon the situation of a particular neighborhood. That's why it's important for a neighborhood to have its own identity. And in this case, the county approved these developments all at the same time. So if you're someone that lives in that neighborhood trying to get home or have an emergency to leave your house during a rush hour traffic between 4 and 6 o'clock, good luck.
Right.
We could have stopped that by not stopping development, because I'm pro-development. I'm not against development, but at least meander it out in such a way that it would have been more palatable to the community that's there so they understand what's going on better than now. So the item failed. We went before the community for a vote, and you had a lot of people that didn't live in North Miami in unincorporated Dade that owned rental property there, that they paid their tenants, which were minority people in the community, because if you know, Biscayne Gardens in North Miami is greater minority than it is majority.
Right.
And what they did was they had those tenants go out and lie to their neighbors, saying, "Oh, I live here, and we're not going to have a police for 3 years, and we're going to have to spend a lot of money to building buildings to make a city. We can't afford it," which wasn't true. When you incorporate, you have you keep the police department from the county for 3 years, and then the buildings that are there right now will become the buildings of the new city. For example, the park on Northeast 6th Avenue and 6th Avenue and 49th Street.
Is that Oak Grove?
Oak Grove
is,
Park?
Yes.
That would become City Hall because it's already there. That belongs to the city. The city would have turned that over to us. And there's other properties within the area that would belong to the new city. So, a lot of misinformation caused that to happen. But I learned a lot in that process, galvanizing the community together, raising funds, creating a PAC to raise funds to do that. Got a lot of support. And we're going to try it again one day. We're going to wait for some folks to move away, the flight, some people to be blessed away.
Right.
And then we'll try it again. If you know Miami Gardens, they tried 3 times
before it
became a city.
Yes.
The late Shirley Gibson was a mentor of mine, a good friend, and she worked with me to do this incorporation. I was the chair of the incorporation committee at the time. And we'll do it again.
I believe Miami Lakes went through the same process. Miami Lakes went through the same process.
They're thriving. And Miami Gardens Miami Lake, any place that becomes a city and you have a name, you have an identity. Once you have an identity, then you have value. You have value added.
Okay.
And if you have value added, then your property values are enriched. You protect your neighborhood. You have a more kinship with what's going on rather than you're coming home and leaving. It gives some people, you're doing stuff for the pioneer.
Right.
You've graduated from the high school. I graduated, but it's still in your heart.
100%.
If something's going on with North Miami Senior High School Pioneer and it's something I can do to help,
yes,
it's an automatic.
100%.
Then I'm going to do something. I might not have the ability to do it. I might have an idea to help. I might not have the funds to help, but I'm going to do something because I'm aware of it. So when you have a community that has an identity and people embrace it, then the community grows normally. That's what's supposed to normally happen.
Right. But Biscayne Gardens is like a hidden gem. Just like you have, but a lot of people, like, if you know where it's at, you know where it's at, but it's a hidden gem back there.
Yeah, the property size, you have 1 acre lots, 57 square foot lots.
Correct.
You can yell at somebody in your house and your neighbor won't hear you because you got a lot of space between the property.
Correct.
Some things we don't have a lot of sidewalks in a lot of portions of it. There's actually portions in Biscayne Gardens that don't have paved streets. There's a couple blocks within South Biscayne River Drive. The streets aren't paved because the county is not a priority for the county.
Of course.
But over time things will be better. Things get better as they. Sometimes you take 2 steps back.
Right.
Take 1 step forward. So I'm hopeful.
Mr. Jennings, you pledge Kappa.
Yes.
Why?
Okay, so I pledged Kappa in my, I think it was a junior at
Florida Memorial
University. And at the time I felt, I want to be a part of, you see the different fraternities and sororities.
Of course.
When I first got to the university, they approached me to be an alpha. They wanted me to be an alpha, but I wanted to be an alpha. I had a little riff with the SJ president. His name is Brian Phillips. Me and him are like real good friends right now. But when I was a freshman, when I was in high school, I started an organization called United Students Against Drugs in high school.
Okay.
So when I went to university, I tried to start the same club there. And I approached the student government office. They said, "Oh, no, you can't do that. We already have 34 clubs. We don't need another club. Plus, you're just a scrub freshman. You can't start an organization. You got to wait." And then in doing that, trying to figure out to start the organization, I went to different administrators asking them, "Can I start the organization?" They sent me to the SGA office, and the SGA office had to make the decision, but they turned me down. About 2 or 3 weeks after that, I got a call from the dean of students of the university, Miss Irma Williams. She's passed now, and another vice president, Mr. Jennings. The university has a problem. There's a grant that we're supposed to get called the Title III grant from the federal government that we've lost the grant because we don't have a student component to the grant. That during that time, 87, 88 was the war on drugs.
Okay, yes.
So they need to have a component of a student organization that dealt with inculcating students with the dangers of drugs and substance abuse. And they didn't have that on campus. They needed that.
Right.
So they called me, I was home, I lived off campus, and they called me at home and said, "Mr. Jennings," they called me Mr. Jennings. Jennings, we need to start this program, and we understand you tried to start a program, United Students Against Drugs. You think you can help us write the proposal up, and because we need the Constitution and bylaws to be able to submit it by next Tuesday to this grant that we're trying to get from the federal government. I said, well, I've already got the Constitution written and the bylaws because I did it in high school. I just got to change the names and turn it over. Are you serious? I'm like, yeah. How soon can you come in? Can you come in on Monday or tomorrow? I said, I can come tomorrow. It was a Thursday night when they called me. So I went the next day, and over the weekend we worked on it on campus and submitted the grant. About 2 or 3 weeks later, this university got $3.5 million.
Wow.
As a freshman.
Wow.
So
wow. I
made some enemies right away.
Of course.
The SJ president was like, when they got the grant, they gave me the club. This university approved it, gave me a budget, and they gave me an office in the nurses' station in the female dorm, Robinson Hall.
Right.
At 9 o'clock, it was not a co-ed university. At 9 o'clock, everybody has to be out of the dorm. But I was allowed to sit in the dorm because I had keys to an office in the dorm. But the security said, okay, you can be in there, but you can't be in the lobby. You have to go in your office. And my office was down the hall where the girls' rooms are. Uh-huh. So I was like, okay, no problem. So all the guys were like, oh, why? How come he get to stay? And we got to go. We have to leave at 9 o'clock. Well, he's got keys, so he can go in his office. So I could be in my office doing office work for the record, right? Handling the business of the office. And that took it from there. After that, the SJ president, who told you could have a club? And then he found out the long way that I have a club. But over the years, me and him became very good friends. His name is Brian Phillips. He's an alpha. But the question was how to become a Kappa. Well, I couldn't become an alpha. And I didn't want to be an alpha anyway. I didn't know anything about fraternities and sororities. But the next choice, the choice for me was to be a Kappa.
Okay.
I met the brothers in Kappas. They were good guys. They were the Crimson and Cream, 12 chains. I'm a pretty boy. They're pretty boys. And so I became a Kappa. Nice. And it's an achievement. Kappa is all about being the best at whatever you do. If you're a street sweeper, be the best street sweeper. If you're a mechanic, be the best mechanic. If you're a doctor, whatever you're doing, be the best at it.
Right.
That's what it's about for the Kappas.
Man, I've met a lot of Kappas. They're pretty cool people. We had one of the alumni who came last time. His name was Jude. Okay. He pledged in Ohio.
Okay.
And we asked him about the question about as far as how why Kappas get upset when people mimic their chant and they do certain things, and he gave us a perfect answer for it.
Okay.
It seems like you've been advocating since we talking about in high school, after high school. Mm-hmm. We talking about Biskin Garden. Mm-hmm. Then prior to that, you at the university. Is that what pushed you, or was that the background information or experience that you had that pushed you to push
to do stuff?
The Good Dad Act, which was sponsored by Christopher Benjamin?
Okay, so the Good Dad Act came about for a personal reason. I have a son. He was 7 at the time, and his mother and I were in a great relationship. Then we broke up, like couples do, and she went on her way. I went on my way. We were separated for more than a year, I think, and then one day she decided she didn't want to be a co-parent with me anymore, and I went to pick up my son from school, and he was gone. I had him in a private school in Miami Lakes.
Okay.
And I tried to figure out where he was for like a month. I tried to call her. She wouldn't tell me where she was. She didn't answer the phone. I called her parents. They wouldn't tell me. The dad said he didn't know where he was. Me and her dad had a great relationship prior to that. He said, like, she didn't tell me where she's at. So I can't tell you. Between you and her, I'm out of it. You guys are adults.
Right.
So I was able to go before a Dade County judge and get a Zoom call because they served her by email to make her come to court. And the judge said to me that, Mr. Jennings, you're on the birth certificate. I turned in a DNA test because I had my son's kind of like traditional. I keep his teeth in the bag. So I took his teeth that I had saved up from his baby teeth, because I was very involved with him. I see you on the birth certificate. I see that you have a DNA test that says you're 99.9991, can't be excluded as the father, but you're the presumptive father under the law. A judge, when you're not married in the state of Florida at that time, has to declare that you're the father, which establishes paternity.
Right.
And what paternity means, you have a financial responsibility to the child. You have to pay child support. It doesn't mean that you get rights to visit with the child. So when will I get the rights? She was, first you got to do the paternity stuff. That takes about 6 months to a year. And you have to, serve her some papers in court and go through a trial, and then use that paternity. I said, okay, well, when will I be able to see my son? Well, after that, you have to serve her again, and then you have to get visitation rights. There's some documents you have to fill out and do that, and then that'll take another 6 months to a year more. There's some allegations against you, and if there are allegations, those have to be vetted out, and then we'll see when you get some time, but it's not, you're not going to get any time now. I said, really? I said, well, I don't know where she moved to, because she left and took him out of school, gave the courts a fake address, so I don't know where she is. She was, sorry, Ms. James, you have to find her on your own, hire an attorney, or get a private investigator. I said, I had an attorney. Attorney can't find her either. She gave a bad address. Well, nothing I can do for you. You have to figure it out. You get a private investigator. I was like, well, she's here now, and her attorney's here on the Zoom call. Can I ask her attorney to accept service so I can serve her? She said, go ahead and ask the attorney. I asked the attorney, I said, Ms. Mirror, will you accept service? She says, no, I'm not going to accept service. I don't have to do that.
Wow.
I said, Your Honor, can I ask my son's mother? She said, sure, ask her. I said, will you accept service? The attorney cut her off, says, I'm not going to let her answer that question because I haven't had a chance to talk to her and counsel her about what that means, so I'm not going to allow her to answer that question right now. I said, Your Honor, I knew the judge was going to say no, but I asked her anyway because I want to set the precedence. I said, will you give me an order that they accept service? She says, no, I cannot help you with that. You're going to have to find her on your own. There's nothing I can do for you. Thank you very much. Have a nice day. And ended the Zoom call. Now, I was involved with my son since birth. I got pictures from him, child. And
of course.
Just, very doting dad. I got two other children, two daughters, so I never shunned my responsibility. But when that Zoom call ended, closed my laptop, and I was like, I got this deranged feeling. You ever seen the Joker and Batman in the movie? How that look when he's really going? That's how I felt. Like, okay, I'm either going to go left or I'm going to go right. I was mad, right? I said, you know what? Because of what I've been doing, lobbying the legislature in college.
Correct. And
doing consulting for elected officials throughout the county, throughout the nation, actually. I said, I know elected officials. I'm gonna change the law. I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna fix this, because it's not my son's mother, because she's following her attorney. It's not me, the attorney. I can't be mad at her because she's following the law, because the judge said the law says the mother is the natural born guardian of the child during the hearing. It doesn't mention the father. To get rights, you have to go to the court and pretty much beg the court for rights. You walk into court with no rights when you have a child.
Wow. As a man.
As a man at the time. And it holds true for all 50 states at the time. So I was like, this is not right. And I sat there at the kitchen table and I thought about my father's friend. His name is Omar. He lives in Port St. Lucie now. And when I was 12 years old, Omar had a girlfriend. Her name was Lisa, and he had a daughter, a little girl. She was 7 at the time, and I was 12. And I remembered over the years, he had some argument with his girlfriend, Lisa, and he was separated from his kid, and they moved to New York. And she was in some kind of witness protection program because she lied at him and said that he put a gun to her in her mouth or something like that. Wow. I was 12. I didn't really it fazed me. And he would be talking to my dad about it and tell my dad the story. And I just heard it. And then I remembered that all that time he never got to see his kid. As of today, it's been 35, 36 years, and he's never seen his daughter again. He could be walking past his daughter in the store somewhere, and he wouldn't know who she is because they disappeared with his kid because of a false allegation. So I was like, I don't want to be a deadbeat dad. That's not going to be me. I'm going to find out where my kid is because I was thinking that she was going to move to Texas. So one day I was in the car with my son. At the time, he was maybe 6 years old. His dad. If my mom moved to Texas and I moved to Texas, would you be upset about it? Would that be okay for you? I was like, why does he ask me that? But a 5-year-old kid, they ask a lot of crazy questions. So things that take it to heart. And I didn't want to, I said, well, let me answer him correctly. So I said, Ethan, I'd be very hurt for you to move away to Texas because I wouldn't be able to see you. I like to see you every day if I can. I don't see you every day now, but I would love to see you every day. And at the time, I only had Ethan weekends. The mom had him weekdays and had him weekends. And it was like maybe several months before she went off with him. So when that happened, I was thinking, man, what if she moved to Texas? I know some other guys that the mom moved away to another state, and you got to go to that state and fight for your kid.
Correct.
You lose jurisdiction in the court. So I didn't want that to happen to me. So I opened back my laptop, and I started to write a proposal to the state legislature. And I remember I used the Montessori. If you have a kid in Montessori school, there's a process you use to solving problems in Montessori school. You state this. It's like the scientific method.
Of course.
You write it down what the problem is, what material you need, and the tools, and then what the goal is, and then how you're going to solve the problem. So I wrote that. Something real quick told me just write that out. I wrote it out, typed in the computer, and then I followed the process. And then I reached out to several different state representatives. In the state of Florida, to pass a law and to get a bill, each state representative can only do 7 in a session. A session is a 6-month session. It starts in January, ends in May. Okay. During that time, it would have been sometime in September when this happened.
Of what year? What year was that?
That was 2023. No, 2022.
2022. So you went to court in 2022, and you started doing the work?
Dealing with court. I represented myself in court. I had an attorney. Okay. And then I didn't have an attorney because it was so costly to have an attorney, so I did it myself. I was like, I'm going to do this myself. And then sometime October that year when that happened, like 2022, I wrote the proposal after the hearing in court in September. And then sometime in October, after I finished doing my research what to do, I submitted to several state representatives. I got no. And it's a story about resilience too, because a lot of times people get a no, and then you feel defeated. And I try to tell people, you know what? It takes just the next yes after the last no.
Of course.
So if you in your heart believe what you're doing is the right thing, and you're doing it for the right reasons, don't give up. Some will, some won't. So what next? That's in my head all the time. So I went to these different representatives. I won't name the ones that said no. They know who they are. I talked to them now. They're good with me. But then I went to Christopher Benjamin, who happened to be a graduate of Florida Memorial also.
Nice.
And he had just got elected.
District 107.
Yes. And Christopher, he said, I don't have all 7 of my bills, but Bernard sent it to me. Let me see what we can do with it. So I submitted it to him. And about a week later, it was like 7:30 in the morning, he called me. He says, Bernard, I submitted the bill to the House committee. There's a staff that actually looks at proposals and decides whether they have legal sufficiency or not. He called me, Bernard, I submitted the bill, and they said, yeah, they like it. It's got legal sufficiency. They can actually make a law with this. Wow. So he said, what we need to do now is I need to talk to the Speaker of the House to see if I have support. We got to find a Senate sponsor. So he spoke to the Speaker of the House at the time, and the Speaker of the House said, yeah, if you get a Senate sponsor and it passes the committees on the various sides, so it could pass 6 committees on the left, 6 committees on the right, 6 committees in the House, 6 committees in the Senate, then I'll let it come to the floor for a vote. This is around November, December of that year.
Of 2022.
Right, so went through that process. It passed the first committee in the House side. Clay Yarbrough is a senator out of Jacksonville. Okay. He sponsored the Senate side, and it passed the committee, the Senate side. Sometime in February, I had a mediation with my son's mother. And sometime in December, the judge started letting me have visitation because I was filing documents in court, getting hearings. So she started letting me have visitation with my son again, limited visitation weekends, not the full what I have now.
Right.
So then went through the process. I had a mediation with a guardian ad litem, a very biased guardian ad litem. Not a guardian, a mediator.
A mediator.
I'm a mediator. And the mediator was a woman in the mediation. And, I was telling her that I wanted to have time with my son, explain to her what was going on. She said, well, the mother doesn't have to agree to anything. The law doesn't say, I'm an attorney too, she says. And the law doesn't say she has to do anything. I said, well, the law is wrong. The law needs to be changed. She goes, Jennings, the law is never going to be changed. This is what the law has been. It says there's precedence in the law that the mother doesn't have to do anything for you. She doesn't have to agree to anything you want. You say you want 50-50, she's not going to agree to it. I'm not bringing this to her. I said, hold up, I'm a mediator too. I'm certified by the Florida Supreme Court. And in mediation, if I ask you to bring something to the other side, you don't answer for the other side. You bring it to them and let them tell you no and come back and tell me.
Wow.
So she put me on hold and went back and came back with the same answer. She said no. Now, I don't know what happened on the other side.
Maybe never got there, right?
Maybe she, listen, I told his ass and blah, blah, blah. Screw him. I don't know what happened. I'll never know. And I wrote about this. I wrote a book about this, and I laid out in the book, too. And in that instant, when she came back, I said, you know what? I'm going to tell her that this thing passed 2 committees already on the House side. I'm going to change the law. And then some tell me, no, keep this close to your chest. Don't say nothing. And she was laughing when she came back. Yeah, I told you she's not going to laugh, blah, blah. And I'm thinking to myself, my dad used to say, he who laughs last, laughs the loudest.
Yes.
So I said, I'm not going to say nothing. I didn't say anything. I just kept doing the work on the outside. You're making calls to state legislatures, state senators, talking about the bill, trying to get support. It went through, each committee I went through, there was no opposition. No one spoke. Actually, a Christian Catholic Association spoke up for the bill. Some other entities, the Bar Association spoke up for the bill. Mm-hmm. And then in May, it came up to a vote with the full House and the Senate, and it passed unanimously, not one opposition. And the governor signed it into law 3 weeks early before July 1. The law says now it's called House Bill 775, mm-hmm. Parental Responsibility After the Determination of Paternity. And it says that after a father steps up and he's already on the birth certificate, meaning that he signed the acknowledgement of parenting at the hospital, him and the mom got along at some point, you might not be getting along now, then he has the same rights and responsibility as she does. Wow. To educate this child, to house the child, to provide religious decisions on the child, to get medical information about the child. You have the same rights. You walk into court with a presumption of equality. In the past, it was you had no rights. You had to go to court and you had to prove you're a good dad. You're there like, proving
that's amazing.
Why you get time. Now you don't have to prove it.
That's amazing.
You have to go in and the mother has to prove on that day, on that hearing, the judge should ask, who has the child? Oh, she has a child. When's the last time you saw the child? I haven't seen my child in a month. Ma'am, do you realize that the law says he has equal rights as you and he's entitled to see his child? What's the reason why he can't see his child? Oh, he's a liar. He cheated on me with my sister or whatever. It doesn't matter. Unless there's a court order that says that he's guilty of domestic violence against this child, right, or physical abuse against the child or something like that, or physical abuse against a mother and the child was present, then he's entitled to have time.
Correct.
And he's entitled to 50-50 care because another bill passed, 1301, about a month later, says if the Good Dad Act says he's equal to the mom, what does that mean? 50-50. And as long as he lives within 40 miles of where that child lives in the jurisdiction of the court, he's entitled to 50-50 timeshare.
That's amazing.
It's awesome.
That's amazing.
It's a game changer for the whole state.
Do you foresee that bill going through the rest of the United States, maybe other states?
I'm doing it.
You doing it?
I'm doing it.
That's amazing.
When the bill passed, I represented myself in court December of that year, of December of 2023.
Right.
And the judge, after the hearing, gave the order and gave me 50-50 timeshare with my son, what I asked for, Friday to Friday. I pick him up from school Friday, mm-hmm. do everything a dad's supposed to do, go home, wash his hands, take a shower, do his homework, hopefully, help with the homework, play some games, do whatever.
Right.
Maybe I got a community meeting over the weekend, and then weekday, get him up, get him breakfast, get him to school, iron his clothes the night before, pick him up at 1, leave. I stop work at 1 o'clock on those weeks, 1:15, wherever I'm at in the county, and I race to his school, pick him up, take him home. He's doing his homework, reading a book, doing whatever, maybe have a community meeting, he'll come with me. people think I have my son full time because he's always with me.
Right.
And then Friday I drop him back off, and then the mom, her turn.
Right.
And then we have little conversation in between times. I'm supposed to talk to him twice a day. Sometimes I don't get to talk to him. Sometimes when she has him, because things happen, you can't always be on the phone. But that's been working out. The second month after this 50-50, the principal called me and says, your son's doing really good in math now. He's doing better. And can we put him in a gifted program? I said, well, if the mom says he can go in the gifted program, I agree with it because you got to both agree.
Right.
So she called back and said, yeah, he's in a gifted program. He's part of the 5,000 role models for men. He was doing morning announcements at the school. I did that at North Miami Senior High School.
That's amazing.
I did the morning announcement too. His confidence is up. He's a smart kid. He's open. I'll go places, take him somewhere to the store, and he'll strike up a conversation with somebody talking about stuff that I don't even know he knows. Like, how does he know this stuff? He's smart. He's on YouTube. I bought him a guitar for Christmas. I bought him a regular acoustic guitar and electric guitar. He's on YouTube. He taught himself how to play guitar.
That's amazing.
Okay, so I'm proud of him.
Right.
And now since the law passed, I've had the very week after that. It was in the press that the law passed, and then people started calling me. So I created a website, gooddadact.com.
Yes, saw that.
And prior to that, I wrote a book about what happened when the Guardian lied, when the media said what she said to me. I was home and I said, you know what? I need to write a book about what's going on because this is not right. So I wrote a book about it. And then after the law passed, I finished the book, and then the book is called Ethan's Good Dad Act.
Ethan's Good Act. Was it named after your son?
Yeah, that's my son, because the bill is called Parental Responsibility After Determination of Paternity. The nickname of the bill is the Good Dad Act. That's what it's known by. Mm-hmm. And I've had this past Tuesday, 137 meetings online every Tuesday night at 8 o'clock on a Google Meet, and then we go live on Facebook. We have like somewhere 24,000 people watching us talk.
That's
and I
amazing.
have like 25, 30 dads in the room. Dads from all over the country.
That's amazing.
Indiana, Missouri, New York,
amazing.
New Jersey, Florida, Pinellas County. And they're talking about their situation of how they're trying to see their kid.
And they can't.
Some of them are way worse situation than mine. They can't. So we're working, trying to show them what I did so they can have time with their daughter, their son. And then I bring a different attorney on every week, attorney from Florida, attorney from Maryland, attorney from Alabama, from another state. Since the law passed in Florida, I've helped shepherd the law to be passed in Missouri, North Carolina, Tennessee, and New Jersey. And it just passed Alabama this year. Alabama is even stronger than Florida's law. Alabama says if the child is within 50 miles, and Florida's 40. 50 miles, you still get 50-50 with your kid.
That's amazing.
And it's changing lives. I did a book signing yesterday at AC Hotel in Aventura.
I saw that.
And my dad came up to me and said, listen, I knew you before this. You met me before this, but I didn't know that you wrote this law. When I was going through it with my significant other, I have 2 kids. I couldn't see my kids either, and then my lawyer asserted the Good Dad Act in our case, and now I have 50-50 with my 2 children.
That's amazing.
And I want to thank you. He shook my hand and gave me a big hug. This white guy hugged me in public. He said, you don't know what you've done for me. I've got so many dads that come onto this podcast. I do like you have your podcast.
It's a lot.
And they're like, I walk them through and tell them, it's not about the argument with you and your mom. I never talk bad about my son's mother.
Right.
Because it wasn't, she did what she did because the law said she could do it.
Right.
I don't know the full reason why she did what she did, but I blamed it on the law, and I changed the law, so now it can't happen anymore. Right. The thing about it is these dads come and they're on the emotional side of what happened. And I try to tell them, listen, it don't matter what the emotion is. Nobody cares.
It's what the law says.
It's what the law says. Right. So she said this to you and you had this argument. If she didn't break the law, she's allowed to be indifferent. Correct. She's allowed to have an attitude. Correct. She's allowed to say bad words to you. She can Correct. Ignore you. Just make sure she's following the law. If she's following the law, then you get what you want. You spend time with your kid, pour into your kid, and hopefully at some point you two can get along. It don't always happen, but at least you get to pour into your kid, and your kid sees the difference, and they know that you love them and you mean the best for them.
Right. This is such a game changer, not only for families, but we're talking about as far as for men in general. Because for women too.
Because think about this: if you're a woman, you always see the story. Oh, the baby daddy ain't this and blah blah blah. I can't get an education. I can't get a good job, or they can't do what they want to do in life because they're burdened with the child. But if you got somebody that love the child, why would you exponentially hurt the child? While you trying to you hate the dad more than you love your child.
Right.
81% of men that are incarcerated in prison, a national average, Google it, came from a home where there was no dad present.
That's
71% of high school dropouts. If you ask them if there was a dad in the home, there was no dad in the home.
Correct.
So why would you put your kid into a position for him to fail?
Correct.
Not all kids, because it's not a blanket. Some kids didn't have a dad there and they're doing great. Some kids didn't have, dad wasn't alive, whatever reason was. But a far majority, because there was no dad around.
Of course.
So why would you put the kid in a position to do that? You're hurting your child.
Not only that, a lot of women or mothers, they hold that child as leverage to get control over the father.
Yeah, it's all about control.
And
some dads do it too. I'm living
100%. It's both ways.
We have women come on the program, some mothers come on my thing, and some grandmothers. Because when you take the kid away from the dad, the whole side of the family, the aunties, the uncles, the grandparents, they don't get to see their in-law.
Right.
They miss out on that. The kid misses out on that whole legacy.
The reason I'm saying that, because the way the law was previously written, it was always in their favor. So it's like you can't go there, because once the woman has custody of the child, it becomes very hard for you to get custody back.
Yeah.
And I was doing some research where it shows that 43% of children where the father is not involved in their life, once the father is involved, they have 43% chances of getting better grades, right? Not only that, it reduces grade repetitions as far as for them repeating grades, right? And also, like, as far as their mental state of mind, their well-being, or when the father's in jail, the child has less more likely chance to end up, on the streets, getting involved in drugs and getting involved in everything else.
A non-caring attitude. My dad did it, so what?
Of course.
To be tough or whatever. Like I noticed with my son, his confidence level is way up there. He's confident. He's not scared to approach people and talk to people. If you talk to him, he can have a decent 17-year-old, 20-year-old conversation with somebody.
Of course.
Appropriately, So, and I don't try to hold him back. I try to expose him to so many things so he can have a choice of what he wants to do. Or what do you want your son to be?
That's amazing.
I want my son to be the greatest of whatever he want to be.
Of course.
And my daughters. I got daughters too. My daughter's great. My daughter's she's a manager at Google. One of them, the oldest one, the other one just graduated from FAMU. She has an online shoe store. Shameless plug.
Right.
Drips for Sale Miami. She sells sneakers online. She's amazing. She's killing the game.
Amazing.
She's doing good.
But if I may ask you a question, what do you think happened that because a lot of people believe there was a shift in not only culture, but there was a target on the black families to push men away from the families where they would give.
Listen, it is not just the black family. That's true.
Right.
I'm not saying that's not true. But the white male has more to lose in this situation.
Explain.
Well, on average, the white male has higher income potential and higher income.
Right.
He has more other stuff in life that you say you want, the house, the vacation house, the car, the boat. And when you get divorced as a white man in the past, before this law, because it's really not about the divorce, it's about your custody situation, and you lose everything, you have more to lose. You lose the house, the vacation house, you lose the divorce, they get the car, they get the house, and usually they get the kids too. And you're still paying child support and you don't get to see your kids.
Yes. Right.
So it happens to black, white, Hispanic, Chinese. I've talked to people of different race. They said, man, if this was going on 10 years ago, I'd have been in a different situation. My son got hurt with his foot. I had to go see a podiatrist. And I happened to have the book with me, and I told him about what I did. He was like, he closed the door and had a whole conversation about what he went through 10 years ago. Man, if you would have done this 10 years ago, I'd be a different person today. And he was still, the emotion that just overwhelmed him about the pain he goes through. You got a lot of men that are suffering from PTSD right now because they have a broken relationship with an ex and a broken relationship with their child. And as men, tell me if I'm wrong, how many guys do you get together and say, you know what, man, me and my girl broke up and I haven't seen my kid and blah, blah, blah. You're not talking about that. We're talking about the business deal. We're talking about how we can make some money. We're talking about sports. We're talking about some opportunity. Right. Talk about women, something fun, fishing. But we're not talking about a failed relationship and the fact that I haven't seen my kid in 9 months and I don't know where my kid lives. I don't know where they are today. It's Sunday. I don't know if my kid is on the beach or in the city or in New York right here. Like, that's very, for a man, it's very demasculating. People say it's a maternal love, but fathers have paternal love. I speak to my children, all of them, at least every day, if not every other day. Or they're calling me, all of them. Because you have a sense of, we have what they call inalienable rights in the United States. The right to the pursuit of happiness. You have the right for life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. and it's about wealth. Wealth is not just about money. Wealth is about personal endearment, personal responsibility. It's about your resolve, your image, how you communicate and how you commune with your neighbors. Wealthy is a health thing too. You can be wealthy because of your good health.
Right.
Wealthy because of your friendships, for the love you have for your friends, your family, your neighbors. And when you take that away from somebody, man or woman, you've robbed them of their wealth.
Right.
And if you have a love for your children and someone takes it away, you've taken away part of your wealth.
Right.
And part of who you are. It's like part of you is missing.
Mr. Jennings, I'm curious to ask, what did Benjamin see in that bill that the other state representative didn't see?
Well, first of all, the other state representatives, they didn't have any room. They already had their 6 or 7. They had priorities.
Okay.
I think at the time for him, he had room, and we went to the same university, so he knew me. And he probably had met my son before too. He knew who I was and knew my son, and he's a father too. So, I never had since then I haven't had a personal conversation to ask him what was the ground it didn't do it. I've recognized him in public for what he's done, given him an award from the chamber.
Correct.
But I haven't had that personal, you'd have to ask him what was the thing that really made him do it. If there was something other than it's the right thing to do. I believe there's no quid pro quo.
Of course.
So I believe he did it because it was the right thing to do. It made sense to do it, and let me see if we can get it done. And he didn't have 7.
Yeah, sometimes like the simplest things in life, right? Some people would make it look so complicated, but the simplest thing in life as far as doing something good, it would impact not only a generation, but it would impact forever.
Forever. It's a legacy.
It's something very so as simple as that.
And you make a poignant point. But, a few months back, I got a call from some folks that are in this space of 50-50 space. There's other entities around the nation, other organizations been trying to get 50-50 in their states for a very long time.
Right.
Florida's the first place for it to happen. And some of these fellows called me on the phone and said, listen, how long did it take you to do this? It took me 8 months. 8 months? How'd you do it? Like, I've been working on this for 10 years, and I got this other group 10 years, and another group 15 years. I said, really? And how much time in those years, how many bills have you passed? How many laws have you changed? None. I was like, whoa.
Right.
Whoa. For me, I think it was timing too. It was from the heart. God makes things happen to us for reasons.
Correct.
Someone has to be the one to do certain things. It takes one person to make change on a lot of levels. And it's usually something personal happens to somebody where they decide to make something different. This was my thing.
Nice.
So this is my curse and my blessing at the same time for everybody else, right? And the fact that I have not given up, I said, like, once they changed in Florida, I'm changing in all 50 states. I got six states down now.
That's amazing.
I've got 16 team leaders in 16 different states with their name on a bill passing through the state legislature. It failed in Arizona the first year. It's pushing through now. I've got stuff going through Pennsylvania now, Minnesota, Kentucky. The Speaker of the House of the state of Georgia contacted a representative by the name of Carter Barrett, he's in Forsyth County, and he asked him to create a committee to pass a law in Georgia. Georgia's the worst state. Worst state to have a kid if you're not married. There's 3 things. Everywhere is two things to do. In Georgia, it's 3 things: legitimization, paternity, and visitation. Legitimization is an old slave master thing.
Right.
Where a slave master have a child with one of his slaves, and the child grow up, maybe the slave master pass away, and the child said, well, that's my dad, I want my inheritance. How are you gonna get an inheritance when you're not legitimate? You were property of the slave master. You were like the cattle. You were like his
That's crazy.
His wagon.
And it's still a law in Georgia.
It's still law in Georgia. So that before you can have access to the courts of child, you have to legitimize your existence as a person for who was the father. And that was a way to protect the slave master from losing his property to a slave child. And it's still there. And there's an industry where they're making money off of this. Lawyers are making money, regardless of the race of the lawyer, because it's black lawyers, white lawyers, Spanish lawyers in the state of Georgia making money for something called legitimization, which needs to be off the books. So this committee is formed now. They're working to change and pass the Good Dad Act in Georgia. If they pass the Good Dad Act in Georgia in its simplest form, if they both were on the birth certificate, they signed acknowledgement of parenting, then they both have the same rights and responsibilities as the other parent. Then they won't have to deal with legitimization anymore.
Would you run for office? Have you considered it?
I run for office before. I ran for state rep before. I didn't win several years back.
Which district?
104. When it was 107 was 104.
Okay.
I came in 4 out of 8.
Wow.
Actually, when I was working on my master's in FAMU, because of stuff that I did in Florida, they asked me to run for city council. Mm-hmm. I came in 4 out of 8 there too.
Wow.
My line number is number 4. 4 is my lucky number.
Right.
Right. I think right now it's more important for me to be a kingmaker than a king.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't have to be in the front. I can be in the background and make change by influencing what change should be based upon my values and what I see. So I don't necessarily have to be the head person. Mm-hmm. I'm okay being Robin. Somebody else can be Batman.
Right.
Batman get beat up a lot.
How did you give back to the high school?
So I ran track in high school.
Okay.
I actually got a track scholarship when I went to Florida. I missed out. When I was running track. God bless Coach Richard Gaskin. He passed away. He had me on the track field over at Miami-Dade Community College. And my best friend now was Ricky Brown. He was a college student ahead of me at Florida Memorial, and he was running around the track. And he ran up to me and said, "Man, you run pretty fast. You think you can beat me?" I was like, "Yeah, I can beat you." Go. Cream me. Right. But the coach saw me and said, "Oh man, you two." I came back the next week and they offered me a scholarship, a full scholarship to go to Florida Memorial. Nice. That's how I got to college. I got a full scholarship. And I became active still in the school through Richard Gaskins. We formed the Pioneer Athletic Hall of Fame. Okay. And for a number of years, we sought out pioneers like you're doing for your program here. Right. And trying to recognize what they've done in the community, recognize them with a plaque, had a banquet for them at dinner, luncheon, and gave away a lot of plaques to a lot of pioneers that have been doing some great things in the community. And then the school shut down. I was there for the last ceremony. Scott Galvin was the councilman there. And now the new school, I've gone to the new school for a couple of events. I'm part of the 5,000 role models for men. My son's.
Oh, you are?
My son is also.
Okay.
And I go to the different schools to talk to the dads. Through either the Good Dad Act. One of my co-chair is Michael Horn. He happens to be a Sigma, very good guy. And we go to different schools with other dads and daddies breakfast with their kids or Daddies and Donuts Day. Mm-hmm. Going to North Miami Beach North Miami Beach Elementary School, a couple of other elementary schools, and we talk to the dads about the importance of, staying in your kid's life. Don't let the challenges affect you.
Yes.
Yeah.
If someone want to get a copy of Ethan Good Dad Act, where can they get a copy of it?
Yeah, so Ethan's Good Dad Act, it was #1 on Amazon in child advocacy and divorce and family law. You can get it on Amazon.com. Amazon Prime will deliver it in a day or two.
Nice.
You can get it on Target.com, Walmart.com, nice. BarnesandNobles.com, or Sparks is another platform. Any platform where they sell books, you put in Ethan's Good Dad Act, it'll come up and you can get the book. Or you can go to the website, ethansgooddadact.com. Nice. And I would encourage dads, if you're having a struggle either in Florida or any state, to come to my program. It's a Google Meet meeting. It's a podcast, but it's a Google Meet. And it's every Tuesday night at 8 o'clock. We have an attorney that comes on every Tuesday to talk to dads. Good. An attorney from Florida, from Maryland, from Alabama. We had one the other night from Alabama. Ann Sadbury from Alabama, and another one here from Florida, Miss Hunter. Is coming next week, Tuesday. Mm-hmm. And if you can go to our website, gooddadact.com, you can become a member or a team leader in your state.
Of course.
And then if you want personal counseling from me to help give you some educational advice, I can't give you legal advice. I'm not an attorney, but I'll give you some educational advice, things that I did to help, bolster my case, what other dads have done. You can speak to other dads that have gone through this process, now have 50-50, they come on. And I have a lot of great dads out there. All right. Every guy that's out there is not a bad guy. And that's the problem. I look at the dating industry right now. It's hard to date for men and women because there's this distrust between man and woman.
Of course.
Women seem like they just want money. Men want whatever they want.
Of course.
But there's a trade-off and balance to that. And I think it's a big struggle. But my job, I think, my side piece, my side gig, is to change hearts and minds of female attorneys. Because when the attorneys get their client who's a female, a lot of those attorneys tell their client, go file a DV charge against your such and such because you got court in 2 weeks.
It's funny you said that. It's very funny. Not only they use that in
the court
and parental as far as rights, but they also use it for paper.
Yeah.
For immigration purposes, because they know once they file a DV charge on that person,
get a charge,
and
especially
the
now.
person has a charge, or they're just automatically, hey, that person's is a threat to you. Mm-hmm. So now automatically the state is in your favor, and they get away with a lot.
Yeah. So if you have a domestic violence allegation against you, it's not based upon a violation of the law. It's based upon how you feel.
Correct.
He screamed at me when we were dating 3 years ago, and when I was talking to him on the phone the other day, he screamed at me, and I felt fear of my life. I felt scared.
Correct.
So I'm coming to the court because I think he's going to come and hurt me, and I need to protect myself from him. So you go to the Great Seal of the state of Florida, and you stand in line for 3 hours and fill out the paper. I mean, you got to be really into hurting somebody to sit in a cold courtroom for 3 hours to fill out those documents in front of a stranger and tell them a whole bunch of bag of stuff that's likely not true, and then you got a 15-day stay away. If they serve you, you got 15. If they don't serve you, then they'll extend another 15 days. 30 days, you got to stay away. Mm-hmm. And then if you got a court hearing pending during that time, and you go to family court, it's going to come up that you got a DV case.
Correct.
And the judge is like, you're not going to get any time with your child because we need to see what happened. An abundance of caution, blah, 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 blah. Then you go to domestic violence court. If you don't have an attorney, you think you're smarter than the judge, you're smarter than everybody else, and you get triggered by what the other side is saying, or you say you come across too aggressive and too forceful, the judge can give you a 6-month stay away. That's the kiss of death to visitation.
Correct.
Happened to me.
Wow.
I brought an attorney to court, and the judge saw that we already had a case in Dade County and we brought to court in Broward County. And the issue was that, like, what are you doing in Broward County if you had a case in Dade County? The mother didn't tell the truth. The judge admonished her and actually I think they called the judge in my court and said, hey, you can't do that. And I didn't get guilty of domestic violence, thank goodness, because it was not true. It was just, they were just gaming the system. Mm-hmm. So I actually submitted some other legislation through Representative Wallace Aristide.
Yes. He's also has ties to our school.
Yeah.
He was a football coach out there.
Mm-hmm. And it's legislation to address false allegations and paternity fraud. That's where someone claims that he's the dad and they know he's not the dad. There was just a dad that came to me. He went to jail after 5 years paying child support. He went to jail because during COVID, he didn't have the money to pay. And he was driving with no license, got his license taken after $5,000, get your license taken away. Habitual driving offense, so they locked him up. Lost his job, his relationship, comes out of court, he gets a hearing before the judge, and they do the DNA test.
And he's not the father.
You are not the father. The mother's right there. Do you know who the father is? Yeah, I know who the father is.
Wow.
Did you know he wasn't a father? Yeah, I knew. Why did you continue to say he was a father? Because he was paying me child support.
Wow.
Did she get in trouble for that? It's not against the law. She had to pay the money back. The kid is sitting in court, like, devastated. He thought this was his dad. So you hurt this kid. Now he's trying to figure out who his dad is. This man lost his time, his money, and his liberty because of a lie. So that's the law that needs to change. That if someone is found to be guilty of paternity fraud, that there should be at least at a minimum community service for at least like 500 hours and to pay the money back.
Why not jail?
I think if they ask for, I'm gonna be smart about it. If they go to court and ask for jail, it's not gonna pass. I think it's not gonna, I don't think the climate is ripe enough for that to pass. So I would say do the lesser and get that to pass. And if the abuse continues, ask for jail time. Because it's really not about
they can't look at it as a crime? Okay.
It's not about revenge because you got to look at it as a therapeutic resolve for the kid. Mm-hmm. And if you're doing it out of aggression, it ain't going to pass. So I would say don't ask for jail time on that. Ask for community service because you want to be a deterrent.
Correct.
Right? And then, you're going to put the mom in jail and now you don't know who his dad is and now you're about to put the mom in jail too and the kid is right there. How did you solve the problem? You just added to the problem. So I don't want her to go to jail. She did wrong. Let her pay back the money. It's going to be a struggle. But you can put her, now the kid found out that this is not his dad. I'm out.
Right.
Now if he got a relationship, maybe he won't be out. He'll still do something with the kid. But now the mom going to go to jail. So what's the kid thinking? What's he gonna do? He's
Right.
mad at the world.
Of course.
He can become a Unabomber or something. You know, he can be mad. I don't know who my dad is. My mom tried me, and what? Now she in jail. What? So I don't want that to see that happen to somebody. So, and the other thing with the false allegations, someone can go 18 times in a row and make a false allegation. 18 times there'll be a stay away for 15 days. You can go back to back to back to back to back.
Is that currently happening?
It's happening right now. Dad's telling me it happened right now. And there's no retribution for that. My proposal says that if you do it 2 times, fully on me the first time, fully on you the second time, the third time, if it's proven that your allegations are false, then you should have community service and pay a fine. I don't think you go to jail for that either, though, because I don't think it'll pass. Maybe you should go to jail.
But document. Well, what about if you go as far as wasting police resources? Because you get.
Well, there's a body of laws about that now. There's a body of 817 says you can't make a false police report.
Correct.
And you can report that to the state attorney's office, but they're not going to enforce it. I've gone to the police department for that. Other people have done that, and they don't enforce it because they see it as retaliation and a domestic issue.
Even if it's repetitive and it's an habitual.
I mean, I guess I'm not going to say they've never enforced it, but from what I've seen, they don't enforce it because they look at it more of a domestic issue, and the father's retaliating because he's mad too, and it's he say, she say.
Right.
So you have to have something solid. In Florida, it's a 2-party consent state. You're not allowed to record somebody without their permission. That happens too. They're recording each other. Mother might record the father saying something. Look what he said, or look what she said. That's against the law.
Right. Mr. Jennings, what now for you?
Well, I've got this bill passed in 6 states. I'm going to try to pass it in as many states as possible while I'm here on Earth. And it's not only Florida. You got the same issue in South Africa. You got the same issue in the United Kingdom. You got people reaching out to me from all over the world that they have this issue and they want to make a change on that level. And I'm a board of trustee member of the Florida Moore University. I'm the vice chairman of the board, so I do a lot of stuff to help the university. We create a asynchronous program I've introduced to the university. The president is William McCormick. He's done a great job as president. He's an alumni of the university. He happens to be an alpha. I'm a Kappa, he's an alpha. But we get along real good. And we create a program where students on the continent of Africa can take classes online at Florida Moore University. We're the only HBCU in the country that has a program like this, where we're funded by the African Union and the United Nations. And we developed a program so students over there take these classes and for their bachelor's or their master's. 500 students are enrolled right now at Florida Memorial taking these courses.
Nice.
And I've traveled to Africa several times to bring the program together with the university president and bringing some needed funds to the school. And then we're uplifting, giving back not only to our diaspora here in the United States, but on the continent. So now there's these students that are educated in Africa and want to get further educate them. They call it upskilling themselves. They have more value on the continent. Instead of having to come to the United States or try to figure out to leave their nation, they can stay there and they have a higher degree, have a dual degree between Florida Memorial and the South African Graduate Institute of Financial Sciences, which is a school over there that we're partnered with. So that's a good program I've been working on. And we expect to have this semester, we had 277 students enrolled online last semester. This semester, we same amount coming in. But between now and next spring, we should have 825 students. And our goal is to personally to see that we have 15,000 students online over the next year or two.
That's amazing.
That's going to be good. This year, Florida has 1,490-something students, the most students enrolled in school in history of the university. And the university is 147 years old.
Nice.
It's doing pretty good.
Mr. Jennings, once again, it was a pleasure and honor to actually have you here today.
Yeah, I appreciate coming here. It caused me to remember things from the past.
So whenever you're around, whenever you always, always would love to have you back for another conversation.
Yeah, thank you very much. And like I said, if you got any dads that need help with their relationship or maintain a relationship with their kid,
most definitely.
Gooddadact.com.
Gooddadact.com.
All right.
Mr. Jennings, thank you so much.
Appreciate it.
And at this time, we want to thank all of our continuous sponsors, AZ Formal Wear, Gourmet Gathering, Chick-fil-A Miami Shores, and Comprehensive Health Center. And most importantly, we want to thank you, our viewers and listeners who tune in every week. And most importantly, we want to thank the Alumni Association at North Miami Junior High School. Thank you so much. Until next time.